gentlemen, you don't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't have to announce every step you take. In fact, there's a sacred kind of strength found in the quiet. A strength that doesn't scream but shifts atmospheres. A strength that doesn't need permission to grow. And that's what I want to remind you of today. There's beauty in building quietly. There's purpose in the process that happens behind closed doors. The world may not see you yet, but heaven does. And sometimes the best work is done when no one's clapping. See, we live in a culture that teaches us to show before we grow. We post the start and expect praise like we've already reached the finish line. But the truth is, applause doesn't build foundation. Likes don't equate to lasting change. If you want to build something real, something that lasts, you've got to be okay with being hidden for a while. Because what God is doing in you right now doesn't need to be broadcasted. It needs to be protected. The caterpillar doesn't come out the cocoon early to prove it's transforming. No, it stays in that tight, uncomfortable, silent space until the wings are fully formed. And I know some of you are in that season right now, the cocoon season, the one where it feels like nobody sees you, where you're surrounded by pressure and silence. But baby, pressure isn't punishment. Silence isn't neglect. It's preparation. You don't need everyone to understand you in this season. You just need to understand that this season is necessary. The isolation, the pruning, the discipline is all making room for the version of you that you pray to become. You asked to grow, you asked to heal, you asked to be elevated, but you didn't ask to be exposed too early. God is doing you a favor by keeping you covered. Don't rush out of the covering trying to chase what's already assigned to you. It's already yours. You're just in training for it. There's something sacred about building quietly. It forces you to build from authenticity instead of approval. When no one's watching, you learn who you really are. You find your rhythm. You uncover your real voice. Not the one that sounds good to a crowd, but the one that sounds like healing to your own soul. And that voice, that's the one that's going to carry you through storms. Don't despise your small beginnings. Don't curse the season of being unseen. There's power in the shadows. There's purpose in the process. Because when you build in silence, you learn to trust your steps without needing confirmation every 5 minutes. You learn to clap for yourself. You learn that your worth isn't in being noticed, but in being faithful. And I know it gets hard. I know there are days when you wonder if anyone sees your effort, if all the work you're putting in is even leading somewhere. But let me remind you, every seed grows underground before it breaks the surface. Just because they can't see it doesn't mean it's not growing. Just because they're not validating it doesn't mean it's not valuable. Heaven is keeping record of every step, every tear, every quiet victory. Don't stop now. You don't need a stage to be significant. You don't need a platform to have purpose. Some of the most powerful moves of God started in quiet places and secret prayers and whispered yeses and hidden work. And maybe that's you. Maybe you're building something nobody understands yet. That business, that book, that healing, that discipline. It might not make sense to them, but it doesn't have to. It was never meant for their understanding. It was meant for your becoming. Stop shrinking to be digestible. Stop explaining your calling to people who don't have the capacity to carry it. Stop giving visibility to things that are still in the incubation stage. Some things need to marinate. Some blessings need to mature. And you have to be okay with the wait. Not just waiting, but becoming in the wait. Growing in the dark. Stretching in silence. That's where the real work happens. You're not behind, you're not late, you're not overlooked. You're being developed. And development doesn't happen in public. It happens in quiet places. So don't be discouraged if this chapter looks like discipline and not display. If it looks like character and not clout. You're being rooted for where you're going. And when you're rooted, storms won't shake you. Let them wonder what you're doing. Let them think you've fallen off. Let them underestimate you. You don't owe them an announcement. You owe God your obedience. Let the fruit speak for itself. Let your consistency tell the story. Because when you build quietly, you're not just creating something. This is your quiet season. But quiet doesn't mean stagnant. Quiet doesn't mean small. Quiet means focused. It means intentional. It means every step matters, even if no one else is counting. And one day, without warning, the world will see what you've been building. So by then, you won't need their praise because you already know you were worthy. That's to stand in the truth that you belong in. So stay faithful, stay grounded, stay low, and let God lift you. Let your work speak, let your growth preach, let your life be the evidence. You don't have to shout, you don't have to strive, just build quietly, boldly, unapologetically, and watch what happens when preparation meets divine timing. We've been conditioned to believe that the louder we are, the more progress we've made. That if it's not posted, it didn't happen. If there's no applause, then the effort must not be good enough. But that's a lie, a distraction. Because growth doesn't need to announce itself to be real. Growth is sacred. It's often subtle. It happens in the quiet places, in the stillness, in the moments that no one claps for. The most transformative growth, the kind that rewires your mindset, heals your heart, and reshapes your character, rarely makes noise while it's happening. But think about nature. The seed doesn't explode into a tree overnight. It's buried, unseen, covered in dirt. It goes through a process of germination that no eye can witness. Roots begin to stretch down before anything ever pushes up. And if you weren't paying attention, you might assume nothing is happening at all. But deep beneath the surface, something powerful is taking place. Strength is forming. Foundation is being laid, and when it finally breaks through the soil, it's not just for show, it's the result of silent, consistent, unseen growth. It's the same with you, the work you're doing on yourself, the healing, the learning, the forgiving, the self-discipline. Just because it's not visible doesn't mean it isn't valid. Just because people don't see your grind, your tears, or your growth doesn't mean it doesn't count. Some of your greatest milestones will be measured in quiet victories, like the moment you chose peace over pettiness, the day you broke a toxic cycle, the night you didn't go back to what broke you. Nobody else may know, but heaven noticed, and your future self will thank you for it. Loudness isn't the proof of progress. Volume doesn't equal value. In fact, sometimes the loudest people are masking the emptiest growth. Because it's easy to perform transformation, it's much harder to actually live it. You can speak like you're whole and still be hurting. You can look like you've changed and still be repeating the same patterns. Real growth isn't about performance. It's about process. And the process doesn't always come with a spotlight. There's a reason why the caterpillar goes into a cocoon. It's a sacred space. a space of vulnerability and transformation. If you interrupt the process too early, the wings don't form right. If you try to force it into visibility before it's ready, you damage what it was becoming. And that's what happens when we rush out of our quiet seasons trying to prove something, trying to be seen. We risk showing a version of ourselves that's not fit. And the danger in that is people will start expecting us to maintain what we haven't actually become yet. Give yourself the grace to grow slowly, quietly, without pressure, without the need to explain yourself to everyone watching. You don't owe people updates on what's happening in your heart. You don't need validation to make your process real. This is between you, your purpose, and God. And sometimes the quiet seasons are the most important ones because they build you from the inside out. They strip away distractions. They remove the noise. They force you to deal with what's really there, not just what looks good on the surface. If you're in that season now, the quiet one, the one where it feels like no one sees your effort, take heart. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're growing. You're building depth, and depth matters more than display, because when your moment comes, and it will, you won't just be seen, you'll be ready. Not because you shouted your way to the top, but because you let the quiet grow you deep. Authentic transformation doesn't need an audience. It doesn't wait for validation or thrive off attention. It begins in the places most people overlook, the inner rooms of your heart, the quiet corners of your mind, the moments when no one else is around to see who you're choosing to become. Real change happens when the lights are off, when the cameras are down, and when the only voice you hear is your own asking, are we really ready to do this? It's easy to look transformed. It's easy to wear confidence like a mask, to rehearse healing like it's a monologue. But the truth is, pretending to be whole is not the same as actually doing the hard, gritty work of becoming whole. And that work, that soul deep, mirror honest, break me open so I can rebuild kind of work, it never starts on a stage. It starts in silence. Authentic transformation is rooted in surrender. It's not a performance. It's a process. It begins the moment you stop trying to prove to the world that you're fine and admit to yourself that you're not, that you're tired of the cycles, that you're ready to let go of what's familiar but no longer fruitful. And that decision, it won't come with fireworks or standing ovations. It often comes with tears in the middle of the night, with journal pages soaked in truth, with prayers that feel raw and unfinished. That's where the real shift begins. We're in a world that rewards visibility, but transformation doesn't operate on that currency. It's not about how much you show, it's about how deeply you allow yourself to be changed. You'll know you're transforming when the things that used to trigger you no longer have the same grit. When the habits that once numbed your pain no longer call your name. When you choose accountability over excuses, even when no one's watching. That's growth, that's maturity, that's the kind of evolution that sticks. You see, healing in silence teaches you how to hold space for yourself. It shows you what you're really made of when there's no one there to affirm you. It forces you to dig deep into the parts of yourself that are still under construction. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it can feel lonely. But it's in that loneliness that you meet the version of you that's been buried under expectation, comparison, and fear. And once you meet that person, once you get honest with that version of yourself, everything starts to change.